Good morning, and welcome to the April 13th meeting of the Mountain View Computer Users Group. My name is Barry, and this is Mike and Barry Show. And there's Mike.
Hi.
I should have introduced him at the beginning too, sorry. The Mike and Barry Show. The Mike and Barry Show. So this morning we have a couple sponsors, of course. Our own Carolyn McLean, the Candle Lady. Spring is in the air again, or still. And we've got, she's got some, I guess, these are the special scents for the spring.
Well, the April of the month is spearmint eucalyptus, and I just put lilac up because that's a really cool spring scent.
We've been using that one.
We've been using that one.
Oh, and that's the one that changes as it burns down, right?
What?
It changes kind of as it goes down.
All of them do. All of our scents do that.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that is really cool.
Well, the spearmint one doesn't have it, but the lilac one shows you the different layers.
These are available now, I guess, right? So just text or email Carolyn. Is there a coupon code, or is that gone away now?
No, they don't do the coupon code anymore.
Okay.
However, they do if you want to be a regular member and you buy 2 candles a quarter, then you can save money.
Like
That's how they
if you
do
want to
it.
put your candles on a subscription service.
Yes. But you have to buy 2 a quarter.
So go to scent-team.com/gift and you can sign up there. Or buy direct from Carolyn, I suppose, right?
You can buy direct from me.
So.
It's actually cheaper to buy direct from me because I don't charge the shipping.
There you go. Save the shipping. Buy direct. And you don't have to subscribe. So thanks, Carolyn, for sponsoring this episode of the Mike and Barry Show. And we also have a return of a sponsor, the award-winning Story Power podcast by Lucinda Sage Midgordon. This podcast explores, I got to read my notes here, explores our human connection, creativity, and commonality through the power of story. The stories we write, the stories we film, the stories we share with our friends, family, and the world. You can find Story Power on Apple Podcast, YouTube Music. Used to be Google Podcast. They've changed that. They moved all their podcasts to YouTube Music. And Google Podcast, I guess, is going away. So if you have the Google Podcast app, I guess you're not going to use it much longer. Anyway, or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's on most of the, what do you call them, the directories. And you can get exclusive content at patreon.com/storypower. You can visit her blog at Sage Woman Chronicles. Her blog is named Sage Woman Chronicles, and you'll find it at sagewoman.life. You can find out about all of her creative work, including her novels and children's books. Our thanks to my wife, Lucinda, for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.
So, if you want to sponsor a meeting, or you want to ask or tell somebody about being able to sponsor a meeting, it's only $10 per meeting, or $100 if you buy a whole year's worth of sponsorships. You get a slide during the meeting presentation, like we just showed a couple, and we post the video of our meetings on YouTube, on the MVCUG's channel, and we also give you credit and a mention on the MVCUG Facebook page. So that's what sponsors get if they buy a sponsor slide. Thank you very much. Today's agenda, we got some business for the group. We've got some timely tech topics. We got some hot topics to talk about this morning. And some tips and favorites as usual. And we're going to stick in a general Q&A after the tips and favorites. Before we go to our main topic today and the computer lexicon term of the month, social media, a changing landscape. It's been changing dramatically since it started, but even in the last year. So, if you have a mobile device, please silence the ringers. If you need to take or make a phone call, we ask you to step outside the room. Thank you very much. So, a little MVCUG business to start off. This is the time we welcome visitors, and I was kind of hoping we'd have somebody, given all the effort that our friend Ava and member has been putting into doing some promotion through the newspapers and radio stations and stuff like that. She's been putting out PSAs for us, but nobody new here today. Everybody I see, I recognize your face, but thanks for being here. Welcome all the same. You all know our president, John. He will be undergoing a medical procedure. I don't know how much he wants me to share at this point, but he's going to be gone again next month. So even though it wasn't scheduled, you're going to have to put up with another Mike and Barry show in May. But I'm sure he would appreciate your good thoughts and prayers on his behalf as he goes through it's not life-threatening or anything, but he's going to have some work done.
Send him some support.
Yeah. And he'll share with the group when he's ready, I'm sure. Of course, we have our Vice President, Mike. Of course. I want to take a quick member poll of the assembled membership. How many think that Mike needs an updated photo? Just his wife?
I do not take a decent selfie.
Yeah, it looks like mine, but none of them come up better than this one.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure this is almost a decade old, though. It was when we were meeting over in the county building before the pandemic, so I don't know how when that picture was taken exactly. But.
Yeah, but you think that one's old, you should see the one on the TikTok page.
Do you have a TikTok page? It probably doesn't. And me too, Vice President. John likes to have two vice presidents. That's the way we roll. And we have Mike's lovely wife again, Carolyn, as our treasurer.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, we have to check off our names. What's our report this month?
$442.96 in checking, $426.42 in savings, for a total of $869.38.
Thank you, Carolyn. We have a webmaster, Jim Emmons. Some of you may have met him. Maybe you never have.
Be on the dark web.
He does exist. Anyway, he keeps up our website at mvcug.org. So check that out. It's a resource. There's some, the right sidebar has some links to some interesting things for personal computing.
When I go to that page, it says it's not secure, you want to go in, I say yes.
Yeah, we don't have an encrypted site, but we don't gather any information either. We don't set cookies. It's just a plain HTML site that does nothing but present what you see on the page. It's not, it's not. Your browser cache will keep its current state, I would imagine. But yeah, it's not, since there's nothing to log into, you don't have an account, you're not putting any info on it. Mike doesn't see any, or Jim doesn't see any sense in adding
Making it more
encrypted.
complicated.
Yeah. We have a Facebook page. Facebook is encrypted. Supposedly, your connection to it is encrypted. I'll put it that way. HTTPS. That's what that means. So you'll see events posted for our meetings. You can discuss things there, but doesn't seem to be too much going on in that respect. But we also have this email group, which has more activity. This is where people are sending questions and getting answers, and it's a Google group. That's the URL to get to it in a web browser. However, you don't have to use a web browser to interact. If you are a member, a paid member, it's one of your member benefits. You don't have to have a Google or Gmail account to participate, however. You just have to have an email address and be a paid member. So contact any of the officers if you're not part of that group yet, and we will add you. You'll get a notification. You'll need to include your full name and email address so we can confirm your membership paid status. And you'll be added and get a confirmation email. And you can send and receive emails from that website through your email client without having to go to that website. Now, this is the email address to use if you're going to send something to the group. Mountain View Computer Users Group with hyphens at googlegroups.com. Make sure that you're sending the message from the same email address that you give to an officer that you're using for the group. If you have more than one email address, it has to be the one that you're using for the group. I did a test and sent one, and I got a bounce back saying it couldn't deliver it because I'd sent it from the wrong address. So that's the caveat there. Anyway, if you have questions, any of the officers will help you out with that. So in addition to that, we have a couple other benefits. The hardware checkout, we have a film slide scanner for if you want to digitize 35 millimeter slides or negatives, and we have a projector you can hook up to your computer system and project whatever you want. A slideshow, a presentation, a lecture, a movie on a big screen, or whatever you want to do. And professional discounts on consultation, or discounts on professional consultations. That's the better way to say that. From both John and I, you can text or leave a message at those phone numbers, and we'll get back to you. If you need help with your computering. Membership is only $25 per household annually. And the membership year is September through August. You can pay your dues to Carolyn, a check made out to mvcug.org, or through PayPal.
No Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin. If you're a new member and you join sometime after September or before August, that first year dues is prorated. If you're a renewing member and you're just late, sorry, you got to pay the whole year's worth. That's it. That's what I was told by the treasurer. So it's coming up today, our main topic, social media changing landscape. Of course, we'll get to that. Next month, as I mentioned, another Mike and Barry show. The topic was that was scheduled anyway, but it won't be John, it'll be us. Do you need to carry a physical wallet? It's all about digital wallets, online shopping and payments. How, what, when, well, we'll see how that unfolds. In June, your travel planning summer vacation road trip episode. We think John will be back by then. We hope. He really loves this kind of topic. Anyway, looking at AAA membership, is it necessary anymore for making road trips? Using Apple Maps, Google Maps, other tools like TripIt, Yelp, TripAdvisor, TomTom for GPS. I don't know what he's got planned. He probably doesn't know yet either, but it ought to be fun. And then in July, once you get back from your vacation with all your summer videos and photos, some digital media generation tips on creating vacation photos that people will actually want to watch or look at, covering photo slideshows, videos, the use of audio, whatever, and that'll be exciting. Okay, so any questions about MVCUG membership or what we've just covered there in membership business? Okay, because we're going to have a different Q&A for just computer questions. Timely tech topics. We got 3 big topics. Our first topic is that Apple Inc. is being sued by the Department of Justice. It was announced on March 21st that Apple is being sued for antitrust violations. The government is also pursuing antitrust cases against Google, Amazon, and Meta. Meta is the overall umbrella company for Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, those things. The claims in this suit against Apple are broad-ranging, aiming to establish a long-running history of anti-competitive behavior, going back to when Steve Jobs was still alive, apparently. The article I referenced is from macrumors.com, and there's a quote from their coverage. It is the opinion of the DOJ that Apple has gotten consumers hooked, quote, on its platform through these choices, making it unreasonably difficult for customers to switch to another smartphone brand. So it's basically about the iPhone, seems like. There is no allowance made for customer preference and the idea that people simply like their iPhones. The DOJ positions Apple as a monopolist that has manipulated people into sticking with its ecosystem by blocking competing apps, services, and products. So, the areas of monopoly abuse that the DOJ is suggesting is one of the areas is called suppressing technologies. Suppressing the technologies for things in like super apps, which is an app is very popular in China called WeChat. So it's kind of like a messaging app, but it's its own little platform where you can do shopping, you can make payments, you can do all kinds of things in it. And I think I remember John, when he came back from when they were in China, he talked about everybody in the country just uses this app for everything. Doesn't matter what phone you have, because it's all within the app. But the DOJ is saying that Apple has suppressed the use of this kind of app, and Apple has flatly denied that they've never had to put restriction on super apps in the App Store. In fact, you can get WeChat in the Apple App Store, especially if you're in China, where everybody wants to use it anyway. So, cloud streaming is another area. This is mainly has to do with apps that would stream other apps, like a gaming console kind of app, where you can stream other games through the app to your phone over the cloud, rather than having a dedicated app itself go through the App Store process. Messaging apps. The DOJ thinks the third-party app should be able to send and receive SMS messages. Apple has an SMS app that you can use to send SMS messages through your phone carrier, and the DOJ thinks that other apps should be able to tie into that system. Apple tied in their own system called iMessage into the same app for Apple device to Apple device encrypted end-to-end communications. But other apps can't have access to that technology. Smartwatches. They say that Apple's Apple Watch is too tightly integrated with the iPhone, and you can't use an Apple Watch with an Android phone. And that's a monopolistic, anti-competitive behavior. Also, digital wallets. not being able to open up the NFC tap for pay system to other apps outside of Apple's digital wallet app, which you can put all your payment methods into if you want to. We'll learn about that. Second area of monopoly abuse, privacy and security. They say Apple justifies its anti-competitive conduct with privacy and security concerns. I'm not going to go into all the details there. The next one is the App Store. Apple uses App Store rules to extract monopoly rents from third-party developers. The App Store policies and fees the DOJ mentions their policies and fees, but it is not the main focus of the lawsuit. There's been a lot in the past, I don't know, decade about, maybe was it a decade? Maybe not that long ago, but the whole Epic Games suit against Apple, which they lost except for 1 point in court. So, they're kind of barking up the same tree again. iPhone cost and development. They claim that because Apple doesn't spend as much research and development money, they spend more on stock buybacks and dividends than it does on R&D for the iPhone. So that must mean that means the price of the iPhone is artificially inflated. That's the DOJ's point of view, anyway. Services. Subscription services increase the cost of switching from the iPhone to another smartphone. The whole lock-in to the Apple ecosphere through Apple News, Apple Fitness, Apple Music, Apple TV, iCloud storage, on and on and on. And then one of the big ones is the green bubbles and blue bubbles in the Messages app, which is the green bubbles means you're sending an SMS message through the phone cellular network, and the blue bubble means you're sending an iMessage through Apple's iMessage system to another Apple device, some other person that has an Apple ID. So they're all done in the same app rather than having separate apps for customer convenience, but the DOJ says that increases the cost of, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. That signals to users of rival smartphones that it's lower quality. Well, and it is, because the phone system doesn't support the higher quality images and videos and stuff that Apple's iMessage system does. So it leads to a social stigma, exclusion, and blame for breaking chats where other participants own iPhones, and when someone starts a group like with an Android phone. So this is particularly powerful for teenagers, and social pressure causes teens to switch to iPhone, so that Apple, of course, now makes more money. So they're forcing teens to use iPhones because of green bubbles in Messages.
Air Jordans don't listen.
That's right. And they also think CarPlay is another area where Apple is abusing their monopoly status, so that forcing car manufacturers to allow their iPhone users that buy their cars to take over the screens on the car and with the iPhone interface and so forth.
Androids can't do that?
Yeah, there's an Android Auto that does the same thing. Yeah.
And let me guess, these were all brought by people that weren't Apple manufacturers, correct?
Yeah, there's been a lot of
These complaints.
a lot of complaints that have been put in by companies like Epic and Spotify, who have big user numbers in and of themselves, but they don't want to do what Apple is asking developers to do through their system for the iPhone. So anyway, that's just kind of a broad thing. You can find the DOJ suit online if you want to read it for yourself. There's lots of coverage. If you want to find out more, you can find it on just about any Mac Tech user or Mac Tech website, news site, as well as even mainstream. It's been covered quite extensively already. This is likely to, Apple's of course appealing it, doesn't have any justification, and it's likely to take years or decades for this to all settle out. So
just a question, I think it's a question, it may be a statement. It sounds like Apple's a department store, Samsung's a department store, or Android is a department store, and they've gotten too big? I mean, in that world of a phone?
yeah, I would encourage you to read go read the suit if you're really interested in. There's some things that there is a point, and there are some things that Apple does that it kind of favors its own apps and stuff over third-party apps. But, and there's some practices in terms of App Store restrictions on third-party apps that could probably be, changed, and Apple wouldn't get hurt at all, and customers' security and privacy wouldn't suffer. And some of these things are going to wash out, and probably Apple's going to change, and they're already starting to change some of these things in response to this and the DMA in Europe. We'll have to see how it all unfolds. Did you have a question too?
I was going to ask, is it happening in Europe? And you said yes.
Yeah, in fact, the DMA is now live, and Apple has been, they've changed things just for the European Union countries, and app stores and the app stores there and things of that nature. This is, kind of similar. Not exactly the same thing. The problem with the DOJ's case is it all has to go back to the Sherman Act from, when was that, 1920s? So, it was the antitrust laws that were put in place to curb
Standard Oil.
Standard Oil and big steel and big railroads from being monopolistic. And there has been no new antitrust legislation really since. So they have to fit their case into that and prove a monopoly based on that legislation. In Europe, it's brand new. This DMA is new law. And so that's something to watch, because that may be a model for other regions and other countries to follow when dealing with big tech. We'll have to see. So,
What does DMA stand for?
Digital Markets Act. All right, so our next big tech news story is about the House of Representatives passing a ban on TikTok, and we're going to hand this over to the Mikester for this.
Alrighty. Actually, this isn't as big of a story as you might have thought. There's been some discussion for some time about, do we really want TikTok to have as much popularity as it does, seeing as though it's owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, and there's concern about Americans' data going through Chinese servers. So they went ahead and the House has discussed and passed. And this is something that's been talked about for years. During President Trump's term, there was discussion about banning TikTok back then. What really surprised everybody, which wasn't that surprising considering it's an election year, the House actually went ahead and passed that. Okay, what this actually does is it orders ByteDance to divest, which is find an American company to buy TikTok in the next 6 months, which, by the way, ain't going to happen. Then, if not, it'll be illegal for app stores and web hosts to offer TikTok. Will become illegal for Americans to use it. No, if you've got it, you'd still be able to use it, but it would remain under the control of a foreign adversary. You wouldn't be able to update it, however. and theoretically TikTok would die a slow, gradual death. However, the House passed this. The Senate has declined to take it up. So what's going to happen? Nothing.
And there have been previous attempts in the Senate, and they've all
Yeah.
been.
And what's truly ironic is they're going on about how, well, Americans' privacy is being compromised by the Chinese because of this. I hate to say it, the Chinese are buying our data off of the data brokers just like everybody else does. So this would actually have no, aside from being an election year issue, this would have no effect on anything really. So if the Congress really wants to worry about privacy, then they would strengthen all privacy issues for all companies to be concerned about, not just TikTok, but Facebook, Google, all the rest of them. And that's beyond my soapbox. So, but it was interesting that it actually did get by the House. It's like I said, I doubt it would have happened in anything other than an election year.
Next story.
And that's it. This is an interesting case. The Change Healthcare ransomware attack. All right. Change Healthcare is an umbrella insurance policy and payment processing company. It's owned by Humana. Basically, most hospitals, doctors, pharmacies use Change Healthcare to process their paperwork for insurance payments and all their payment policies. In February, they announced that they had been compromised by a ransomware attack. How did it happen? Who knows? Probably some employee somewhere clicked on a link in an email. Okay, we've kind of heard about it, didn't hear that much. Really became aware of it when John sent out an email last month on one of the social media sites that someone had said that they went to fulfill their prescription, and they were told, we can't process your insurance payment, you got to pay up front, full price. And this person was, oh my God, I can't believe they're treating me that way. And so did a little research and found out, yeah, it's because Change Healthcare has been compromised. They can't process insurance claims or payments or anything else right now. Well, a little more digging, and it turns out that the ransomware group that compromised them was called Black Cat, also known as Alpha V. They demanded $22 million in ransom.
Are they an American company and are they
Russian.
raising money to buy TikTok?
Russian. These are the Russians. So they demanded a $22 million ransom. Here's where it gets interesting.
Which is relatively cheap for the amount of control that they've got.
Yeah. Change Healthcare has not said anything. However, people that watch this kind of thing said the digital wallet that Black Cat uses suddenly increased by $22 million. Okay. Black Cat is actually a ransomware broker. They sell ransomware as a service. They have affiliates that tell them, okay, we would like to do ransomware on this group. And I believe Black Cat normally takes a 30% cut. Apparently, from what they've been able to tell, $22 million was enough that Black Cat said, we want to keep it. And they had suddenly announced, we're disbanding. Black Cat is no more. Leaving an affiliate to go, what the heck?
Where's my commission?
Where's my commission? Well, so, and Change Health is going, we paid, what's going on? Well, just this last week, a new group showed up called Ransom Hub, saying, we've got the data, we got the keys, we want $22 million.
Again.
Oh my God.
Now, it's unsure if it's actually the affiliate that originally contracted with the Black Cat, or there's evidence that Black Cat may have just regrouped as another name and are trying to go back for a second bite of the apple. There is some indication that Black Cat actually was doing business as Shadow Dance a couple years ago, and they pulled this same thing, which I find really interesting because these are the Russians. How much can they get away with doing this before someone over there gets upset and starts having issue with some of the people behind this? So,
Unless
And
they're being smart, and 11 of that 22 is going directly to Putin's war effort, and boom, nobody's going to say a word, and which is still a really good profit.
Yep. So that's where things are is right now. Ransom Hub's demanding new payment. Everybody's going, what the heck? They're still compromised. What I find really interesting about this is ransomware has always worked because of the implicit promise that you pay the ransom, we'll give you your data back. If that trust is broken, then the whole thing's going to fall apart. People will start going, why should we? And what I'm hoping for is this will actually encourage everyone to just take precautions against malware, appropriately protect and back up your data, and make malware irrelevant. I'm hoping that's what happens. So, but that's the case with that. As far as I know, right now, Change Healthcare is still unable to do much business.
So when you say people just do backup, you're talking about companies?
I'm talking about the companies, yes. Not the users, but the companies. And it's got to be more than a quarterly Zoom sessions telling people don't click on links in emails, because you see how well that works. Heck, I've noticed that sometimes we'll send out stuff. Oh, here's an interesting link, click on this. Which, by the way, if you get stuff from us, be cautious about that, because we have actually seen malware go out under our own names. So be cautious. If I send out something that says like, hey, this is neat, you've got to see this, it's probably not me. If I do that, it's going to go through the Google groups, and I'm going to be very definitive about what it is. And it's not going to be a generic, hey, check this out, this is cool. Which is what you tend to see. Questions? Comments? All right.
So where our time and money in Congress should have been spent.
Yes.
Yeah. But of course, everybody should also be backing up your personal data. Not just companies, but don't neglect your own backups.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's April. Spring cleanings. Back up your stuff. Actually, I was watching a podcast a couple of days ago, and they mentioned April is their backup month. That I always called April 1st Internet Cleanup Day, and that's the day that's the month I tried to change my passwords and stuff. There is a thing out there where April is back up your data. You should back it up more often anyway, but at least once a year, back it up. Actually, you should be doing it on a regular basis. But
Now, if you're using something like Time Machine, you're backing up all the time, right?
yeah.
Yeah. That's one,
Backup
anyway.
is a really good
But
service.
don't rely on just one backup. But that's a topic for another show.
That's it. That is. Didn't we just do that? I think we did.
We did. Was it one of the ones that I missed?
Probably.
Probably. Okay. All right.
The last mic.
So, tips of the month. We're going to start with Windows. I thought that was misspelled.
I know you did. I know you did.
When he first sent this, I thought it was using the widget tool.
Yes. I go back up after I send this to Barry and he goes, oh, all about widgets. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's not.
Anyway, it's WinGet.
And I wish
Right.
Ava was here, because she actually mentioned this meeting or two back, where she asked, is there any way to automatically check the software on Windows and see if any of it needs to be updated? At that time I said, not that I'm aware of, because I used to have a program and it went out of business years ago. I just discovered this last month that there is a tool. This is actually built into Windows. It's a command line tool called WinGet. And I couldn't believe it's actually there. It's documented under the Microsoft developer area. And one of the podcasts I listened to happened to bring it up. It is a command line tool, so in order to use it, you have to, under Windows 11, either open the terminal, and you get that picture there by right-clicking on the Start button, and I'll bring that up. Under Windows 10, it's still called Windows PowerShell or the command prompt. Either one of those will open a command line Windows, a DOS window, if you would. And it looks just like this. And in this case, I just went ahead and typed in WinGet upgrade. All this does is it goes through my system and shows all the software it knows about that it can update. And as you can see, I've got a couple things there, Git, desktop, Microsoft Edge, OBS2, a couple things. I did not upgrade it here. Actually, I still have to try it myself because I didn't want to mess things up before the meeting. But WinGet upgrade space -- all. Oh, shouldn't be a space there.
Oh, I thought there was in
Yeah.
your slides.
There probably was with autocorrect.
Ah.
It's hard to do this kind of thing with autocorrect on. But WinGet upgrade -- all should then go through and automatically update the software it sees
Meaning you
there.
would put that where you put in WinGet upgrade?
Yeah, WinGet.
Now what you type into the
You type in WinGet upgrade space -- all. And that should go in and update all the software that it sees there. So there is a way to automatically update your system on Windows. That's it.
There's no spaces on the sides of the dashes.
There is
What?
at the first one.
The first one, but then it's
So it's Wingate space, upgrade space, dash dash.
all, no space.
Mac OS tip of the month. Customizing the Finder sidebar. Is it- Oh, no. All right, so a Finder window, similar to this, has a sidebar that you can customize. And we will do a quick demo here. So, I'm in the Finder. I already have a window open. And this is just a window showing my home on Mac OS. And this left column is the sidebar. But before we do much, let's go look at Finder settings, and you can see what controls you have over the sidebar by clicking the sidebar icon at the top. And these are the kinds of things that you can have appear in your sidebar. So the first level of customizing is just turning on and off items that you want to show or not want to show. So you have sections for favorites, which you can customize. You can add things and remove things. But there are some standard items that Apple will put there for you if you have them turned on, like your home folder, your pictures folder, your music folder, movies, so forth, downloads. The recents item is like a smart folder that shows you all the recent files and that you have interacted with. AirDrop is how you can send things to other Apple devices on your network. And if you're using iCloud, you have a section for iCloud. If you have iCloud Drive turned on, you can have that appear automatically, any shared items. And if your desktop and documents folders, which are normally in your home folder, if you have that turned on, the feature to put those in iCloud so that you have access to them for your other Apple devices, they will appear under iCloud in that section there too, and you can turn those on and off with the check marks. And then there's a section called Locations that shows you connected external hard drives, your internal hard drive. If you put in a CD or a DVD into an optical drive, if you happen to have an optical drive for your Mac, which Apple doesn't build into them anymore, but if you have an older one or have an external optical drive, you can still use CDs and DVDs. When you connect your iOS devices, it'll appear in this area. Your cloud storage, other things, servers, so forth. You can even show your computer if you want. I have that turned off. So this is the first area where you can turn on and off things, and you can see I have a bunch of mine turned on. A lot of these won't appear unless you actually connect something, especially under Locations. But then the other ones will be there just because the check mark is on. And then you can customize it even further. The very bottom thing is tags. So if you use tags to put a piece of metadata on your files, like you can create, the default tags are just colors: red, orange, green, blue, yellow, purple, or something. But you can rename them, like you say important or a name of a project. You could apply a tag of a project you're working on to different files in different parts of the system of your files, and if you can view all the related things with a specific tag by using the Finder sidebar if you want to. You can also turn the sidebar on and off. In the View menu, you can say Hide Sidebar if it's showing, and then you have just a plain old window with just the icons or list or whatever you happen to be viewing. So if you don't see a sidebar, look at the view menu in the Finder and say, or choose Show Sidebar if you want to deal with it. And you can see I've got the 4 sections here, but I have them collapsed. If you hover over one of the words, you get this little arrow, little caret. It's pointing to the right. If you click on it, it turns it to point down and it shows you the contents of that section. And you can move these around. You can take this section and you can move it in between favorites and locations if you want. And now I've got favorites at the top instead of iCloud at the top. So you can change the order just by dragging those words. So let me open up these first couple of here. I have my iCloud at the top. I like to, it's just my little maybe OCD thing. When I think of the cloud, it's a computer somewhere else in the world, essentially. But if you think of the cloud as a cloud in the sky, it's above. So I like to have my cloud stuff at the top of the list because it's up in the sky. It's kind of silly, but that's how I remember where to put stuff. But under favorites, I have the ones that were turned on: AirDrop, Recents, desktop, Documents. Document. Yeah, I don't have music, pictures. And then you'll see some other folders here that weren't in that list, and that means I have added them. So you can add anything you want to this sidebar from the right-hand side of this screen of the window. So let me go to a different place here. I'm going to go to my documents in iCloud, and you'll notice that I have 2 document folders on the sidebar underneath my favorites. One is named Vincent and one is Miranda. We name our computers in our house. This computer right here is Miranda. Vincent is my desktop computer, is my Mac Mini in my office. So if I just want to see the documents that are in Vincent, I can just go directly there by clicking it in the sidebar. And they're in iCloud, so I can access them and they'll download it to this machine if I want to work with it, and then eventually it'll upload it back, or it'll upload the changes, and then it will disappear to save space on this machine, because as being a laptop it has limited storage.
So if I didn't name it, how would my other device show up? What would it appear as?
It would just appear as documents. I have, over the time I've used them, I have dedicated document subfolders in my documents folder for each computer. So I have created those. But if you don't do that, it'll just say documents, and it'll appear as documents the same on every device. So I do have a documents folder here called Gabriel. And Gabriel was the laptop that we had before we bought Miranda. And so I had already started using that convention, but if I wanted, I can take that folder, Documents Gabriel, from the Documents folder that's in iCloud, and I can drag it over here, and you'll notice a little line that appears in between other items. If I drop it there, that's where it'll appear in the sidebar. And there probably not much on that one anymore, because I don't use that machine, don't even own that machine anymore. You can also drag things into folders in this sidebar. So let's say here's MVCUG, I don't know what that is.
Demo.
Some kind of demo file. I don't know why my feet are in it. It was probably something I prepped for a demo years ago, and then I just left it there. So if I wanted to put that, for instance, into this MVCUG folder that's in my sidebar, which happens to be on my computer in my office, if I go to Vincent, there's an MVCUG folder here in the list someplace. that folder on my computer in my office at home is this same folder in my sidebar. So I could go back to Gabriel. I could drag this folder or this file into MVCUG, and it moved it, and now it'll appear in this folder on my computer at home. Let's see, let's go. It should be just loose in here someplace. Where'd that demo file go? Camera demo, that's where it was. Oh, continuity camera demo, that's what it was. What continuity camera was. So there's the file that was on Gabriel. Now they're all in iCloud Drive. So I just moved it from one place in iCloud Drive to another place in iCloud Drive. But the point is, you can interact with this sidebar by dragging things in and out of it and dragging items from one place to another folder if you have a folder in here. If I wanted to put something in my Google Drive is now I've added that to my sidebar. I could drag something in there. I have mainly photos that I share with family members and some MVCUG files. We used to use Google Drive to share stuff. So you can even add, let's see, let's go back to my documents here. Let's go to Miranda's documents. Oh, I have hardly anything here. Uploads. I don't have anything in the uploads folder. Have anything in the font folder? Here's a font. Well, I'll just play with the font. So if I want this, here's a graphic. It's a PNG. It shows the font. I can put that in a folder, but you can't put a document in the sidebar. These have to be either folders or locations. So let's see. I'll just drag it to the desktop for now. So if you're working on something and you want to gather all the files that you need for the project or whatever, you can create a folder and put it in the sidebar, and then you have easy, quick access to that project. And then when you're done with it, you can just remove it. So if I wanted to remove this folder that I just added today, I just click and drag, just drag off the sidebar, and it's supposed to go away. There we go. I just have to click it out of the window. So click and drag something out of the window itself, and it goes away. So, any questions about customizing the Finder sidebar? It's a nice, easy way of getting shortcuts to things on your system. I encourage you to use it. All right.
You just gave me some ideas for seeing how I can possibly customize OneDrive, perhaps.
Oh.
Because there are some things OneDrive does I don't like. I'll have to report on that next meeting. You gave me some ideas.
Okay. I thought there was a way. Okay, never mind. All right. Back to. I thought I went past that slide. iOS tip of the month. Set up your legacy contact. I don't know how much Mike and Carolyn shared with you about why I wasn't here last month, but
Not much.
my wife's mother passed away at the end of February. So we made a trip to Seattle to be with her sister and to start going through her mother's possessions, mainly photos and documents, but boxes and boxes and boxes of photos that nobody really knew that she still had, which was fun but time consuming. But she was also an Apple device user over the years. She had a number of Macs and over the years. She had an iPhone and an iPad and of course an Apple ID. And one of the things that we encountered was after she died, even though we had we did have a record of her Apple ID login credentials. Because she had recently declined so much mentally, they had basically decommissioned her iPhone and her iPad, and she didn't use a laptop anymore. She was in her 90s, 91, and they had gotten her a simplified phone, a jitterbug phone that had big buttons and stuff that hopefully it was easy for her to call relatives, and that's all she did was either call somebody. She didn't do anything else like she used to. She had a Facebook page, she would text family members and stuff, but she couldn't do that anymore. So even though we could start to log into her Apple ID, we could not complete it because of the two-factor authentication process was sending, a code to validate her ID to her iPhone or other Apple device, which she didn't have anymore. So, but eventually there's a process that you can go through with Apple, and the executor of an estate has to have the death certificate, and you have to provide some documentation, and then they will either give access or delete the account, which is really all we needed really to do was to delete it, because it had been so long since she'd used it. She probably wasn't anything that we needed to retrieve in terms of data, personal data, but like photos or whatever. However, that may not be the case with you or maybe a friend or relative. And Apple has built in, since iOS 15.2 in fact, a way of setting up what they call a legacy contact. And so because we had dealt with this, I'm going to encourage everybody to do that, and I'm going to show you live and only semi-rehearsed how to do that with my phone. And you can see it's pretty simple. So that a legacy contact provides someone that you designate the ability to get into your Apple ID to retrieve things like photos, documents in iCloud, other things of that nature, so that if need be, that's available. And it's available for I think 6 months. There's a 6-month window for your legacy contact to deal with it, and then Apple will completely delete the account for you. So here's my phone. You get to the legacy account setup in the Settings app. So you want to open the Settings app, and then you want to go to your Apple ID, and your Apple ID is at the very top. So if you have your photo on it, you'll see yourself. And once you're in your Apple ID settings, you go to Sign In and Security, the second item in the list there. And it has to talk a little bit. This is where you would, edit the phone numbers and email addresses associated with your account. You can turn on and off two-factor authentication, which you should have on and not turn off. Your sign in with Apple ID stuff.
Just by the way, on an older phone, it's under password and security.
Oh, but you're still running iOS 15, right? Because this feature, they may have moved it in.
No, it's in the bottom of password and security.
Oh, I wonder if it's in two places.
That would be the two-factor authentication.
You're talking about two-factor authentication.
I am talking about finding legacy contact. This is a 7
Okay.
phone.
So that would, okay. So what version of the operating system is that?
I'm trying to get.
Because they've moved it then. Because this is iOS 16. You must because a 7 can't run 16, I don't think.
That's what I was just saying, on an older phone,
Yeah.
you can find legacy contact in password and security.
Great, thank you, Maureen. So if you're running a phone that can't run iOS 16, which is what I'm showing here, in iOS 15, and this feature didn't even exist until 15.2, so even older operating systems beyond that, you won't have it at all. But in 15, it's under password and security. So, so sign in and security under iOS 16, and you scroll down a bit, and there's account recovery and legacy contact. These are somewhat related. Account recovery is you can designate a person that has help you get access to your own account if you happen to forget how to log in. But legacy contact is specifically for people being able to access your Apple ID after you pass away. So you tap on Setup, and it shows you a list of your legacy contacts. But if you don't have any, this is what it looks like. And I purposely haven't done this until now because I did want to show it in a demonstration like this. So you add a legacy contact, tap on that, and it gives you this information sheet, which you can read. It tells you what it does. I'm not going to read it all for you here, but check it out for yourself. And then a big Add Legacy Contact button, or Not Now, if you want to back out. So it's going to authenticate your login when you tap Add One, either Touch ID or Face ID, or you'll have to put in your passcode. Now, as you can see, I have a person showing up here, my wife, and the reason there's a person showing up here is that we are in what's called an Apple ID family group. So if you've set up a family group in your Apple ID system, these people will appear here as choices for you to add as a legacy contact if you so choose to do that. You'll notice there's a little circle on the right-hand side of that listing for my wife. So I need to tap that circle to add a check mark in order to add her as my legacy contact. And you can have more than one, as you see. It says choose someone else. You can have multiple legacy contacts. So after I finish with this demo, when I get home, I'm going to add my brother, who's the executor of my estate, in my will. And if he is already passed away when I pass away, then my nephew, his son, is the next in line to be the executor for my estate. So I will add them both. And so when you're going to do this, be sure you talk to that person beforehand so that they know that this is coming up. They're going to get a notification from Apple. If they are an Apple user and have their own Apple ID, what happens here is this process generates a account key, a recovery key, a digital recovery key for your Apple ID. And if the person in the legacy contact that you apply is an Apple user, they will get a digital version of that so that they have it. You can designate someone that doesn't have an Apple device or an Apple ID if you want. For that, you'll have to print that key out and put it with your will or your estate records and so forth, so that after you pass, it's available that someone can then use that to get into your Apple ID. They're still going to need also a death certificate. So I'm going to add my wife here and see how this goes. I've informed her she's probably going to need to get a notification. I don't know if she's going to respond or do anything at this point. That's interesting. Next. Oh, then you got to tap next at the top. So you choose that person, then you tap next. Access.
What if you've got the person up
Hmm?
and it gives you their contact because it says choose and then it gives you, then I have to sign in, and then it gives you the list of contacts. So I choose somebody off that list, and then there is no move forward. All it does is open their contact page. There's no choose it, there's no next, there's
Another
no
7
add,
phone.
there's no nothing.
Let's see what happens. I'll choose someone else. Let's try my brother. Oops.
Yeah, there's nothing clear
Huh.
clear forward motion. There's not a select of any kind.
That's. Aha.
That's what the DOJ should be looking into.
Boy. I'm gonna have to research
We
this.
gave you a feature, we didn't enable it, but we gave it to you.
Yeah, I read through the Apple support page on this, and it
But we're
did
doing-
not.
We're doing the right thing.
It did not.
It says choose.
Yeah, it
gives you your
does.
list of contacts, you put one in,
Hmm.
but then there's no forward motion.
And yeah, it didn't add him, clearly. There's no plus sign or anything anywhere.
You may have to. Let me see. Let me tap on his email address. Yeah. So you tap on one of the contact functions, either his email address or his phone number, or the person's email address or the phone number, and then it goes to the next step automatically. Because it's going to send a message to that person, so it needs a way to communicate with them. So you have to indicate how you want Apple to communicate with that person. I'm going to back out and just do my wife. So, access to your digital legacy. Unable to add. Oh, good. Try again later. I don't know what that means.
Could be the internet.
Could be the internet.
If you're not dead yet, what are you doing?
It could be my wife is got do not disturb on. I don't know. The data in your account that the digital legacy can have access to, though, may include photos, messages, notes, files, contacts, calendar events, apps you've downloaded, device backups, and more. It won't be able to access iCloud keychain or any licensed media. So it does not include like songs and movies and videos and TV shows and stuff that may have been purchased through that person's account. But all the personal stuff. Let's see if it'll do it again. Unable. I don't know. It maybe it knows I'm on a public unsecured Wi-Fi, which I don't know. Not quite sure that makes sense to me, but
I don't know, I just tried, I was playing around with this, I just tried adding account recovery because I already had this set up. And I tried account recovery and it says, okay, you have your protection turned on in case your phone is stolen. After 1 hour, you'll be able to do this.
oh
and
right,
it started
you
to
turned
count
on.
down,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe something along those lines.
I don't think I turned that on yet. I haven't turned on that stolen device recovery thing. Well, even though it failed to add my wife at this point, that's the basic steps. And for your heirs and people that survive you after death that have to deal with your estate, Apple provides this, and I encourage you to set it up at some point before you die. Any questions at this point? Cancel. All right. We will stop the mirroring. Oh, okay. Here's John's tip of the month. How to delete playlists in YouTube. If you have, I don't know how you all use YouTube, if you do, but if you have a Google account, you can sign in to YouTube, or you can create a YouTube account. It's still a Google account, because YouTube is owned by Google, and you can create your own YouTube channel, or even if you don't have a channel where you like post your own videos, you can create playlists of other people's videos that you can set up that you can easily return to if you'd like. And if you want to then get rid of any of those playlists that either you've created or you've uploaded, John is going to show us how to do it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. I've got the volume up all the way. It's going to play out on my computer speakers. If you can't really hear it, I can go through it. It won't take too long.
We can hear the music well. We'll see.
I've had people ask me lately how to delete a playlist in YouTube, so I decided to put together this little video to show you how to do it. I've opened up Safari on my Mac and to YouTube, which you can see here. And by the way, this only works by opening up in a web browser. You cannot do this by opening up in the application under iOS or Android OS. So let's start off. Come over here to the hamburger menu up here in the right-hand corner. Click on it. And then come down here to your channel. And then select playlists. And then you'll see, if you come over and highlight each one of the playlists you have, you'll see this little 3 dots, vertical 3 dots. You click on that, and a menu comes up, and you select delete, and that deletes the playlist. Or you can edit the playlist and remove items from the playlist. And that's all there is to it.
Any questions? Did everybody hear that all right? Okay.
Good enough.
So, 3 dots, delete playlist. And by the way, that works, like I said, it works if you have your own channel, or even if you don't have your own channel, but you do have to be log into an account to create playlists. So you could have playlists that you do this, delete them the same way, even if you don't have your own channel. Okay, we have favorites today. And Mike is going to tell us about Microsoft PC Manager.
This is a neat little utility that I found out about. Essentially, it's a little program that consolidates several different functions for monitoring your PC's health and optimization in one place. It's available for download from the Microsoft Store. You just go to the Microsoft Store and search for Microsoft PC Manager, and you can download it. And here's what the front screen looks like. There's several different screens. You can see that it gives us things like your PC needs a health check. It'll go through and check for optimization things like temporary files, programs you haven't used in a while, offer to delete them, things like that. What programs are using up a lot of memory that to let you know if you might want to tune up your system a little more. Just a lot of nice little diagnostic and optimization tools in one place is all this really is. I haven't played with it as much as I would like to at this point, but it's got several good things, and I think it's probably worth playing with. That's it.
Questions? Cool. It's nice to know that they have that. Is this just 11?
No, it works on 10 as well.
Yeah. I bet my IT department wouldn't download it and install it, though.
Probably not.
All right. My favorite is Safari tab groups. This was a feature that came in a couple of OSs ago at least, maybe longer. And I didn't start using it right away, but once I started looking at it and dealing with it, it changed the way I did my browsing bookmarking system. I hardly ever bookmark a web page anymore because I've built a number of tab groups, and I just leave the pages open. And they go dormant after a time, but when I want to go to it, then it'll, I can go to that tab group that it's in, and it refreshes when I click on the tab that I want to load, and I'm off and running. So this is how it works on the Mac. I forgot, I did have a web browser demonstration. So I'm going to launch my Safari here, and this is interesting. I've got tabs open from when I was in Washington. So this is just, the sidebar here shows what I'm looking at, and the top just says 7 tabs, and this is just like just general tabbed browsing. So these are not in a group. I'm going to close the sidebar here. You can see I've got a number of tabs open at the same time. And I failed to open page. I don't know. Anyway, I can, I click and close any of these tabs and it's gone. If I want to reopen it, if I haven't bookmarked it, I'm going to either have to search for that site again or remember the URL and type it in again. But if I wanted to, see, all of these have to do, let's see, there's these 4 here. All 4 of these tabs, we were looking for some photo scanning services when we were in Washington going through my mother-in-law's photo collection. Oh boy, we got a lot of stuff. We want to digitize. We don't want to lose all this. And then we want to be able to share it with other family members. So we were looking up things, and these are just left over from all the research we were doing. They're not in a group. But if I wanted to put these into a group so that I could return to them, if I open the sidebar here, all these little titles here are tab groups that I have created. So so I have one for the user group, and if I go to this tab group, I've got our web page, I've got our Google group here. This is the Herald's calendar where I post our events. I've got the group's YouTube channel.
How do you create a tab group?
I'm going to show you in a second. And I've got John's video, or John's personal YouTube channel here, because sometimes he posts the user group stuff here, as you can see, instead of on the user group one. At least he did in the past. There's a bunch of older ones there. I forgot what this one is. Oh, Wikipedia about social networking. So if I'm doing research for the upcoming meeting, I'll open this tab group and I'll just add tabs to it and look in here. But if I wanted to say create a tab group for these 4 tabs that have to do with photo scanning services, first off, if you have a tab that's open and you have a tab group already created that you want to put it in, if you right click on the tab in Safari, you can say move to tab group, and it will show you a list and you can choose which one to send it to. If you don't have a tab group, you can say move tab to new, wait a minute. No, okay, no, it's over here, I think. At the top where it says 4 tabs, you right click there and it says new tab group with these 4 tabs. So I can put those into a tab group, photo scanning services. And now when I want to go back to these to look at them again, they're in a tab group, and my normal just general browsing is there's no multiple tabs here. There's just this one, and this is where I would just type in. And I do have bookmarks. I could, apply if I wanted to go to a specific site. I still have some old bookmarks, but I have now kind of moved to this process of making tab groups. So I have a tab group for Apple pages that I go to find stuff. What is it? Oh, that's their Vision Pro stuff. I have a tab group for books, only a couple tabs there. Blogs that I follow.
Would this work in an old machine that's not running current,
You-
like four
Um,
OSs?
How far back does this go? Whoops. Tab groups. This is a feature that's been in Google Chrome for quite a while, actually. Safari added it. I should say Safari tab groups. Apple added it to Safari. I think Google Chrome has had tab groups before Safari had them.
Yeah, this is browser oriented, not operating system oriented.
Yeah, it has to do with the specific browser. Oh, that's iPhone. Oh, wait a minute. I know where I had
So
it.
if I'm using Google, whether I'm in Safari or not,
No, you'd have to be using the Google Chrome browser.
got it.
It's a browser feature. So if your version of Safari on whatever version of Mac OS that you're using is older than when this feature came into Safari, likelihood you can use it in Google Groups.
Okay.
I mean Google Chrome.
I knew what you meant.
So, like I said, it was at least a couple operating systems ago that they added this to Safari.
work in
Oh, I know when it started in Safari. Big Sur.
Okay, that's what we're in.
So Big Sur was the first Mac OS operating system, and I think, we're in Sonoma. Ventura was before that. I
There's
think
four of them.
I think Big Sur was
Four back.
3 or 4 back, maybe 4
so.
back. Okay. So it's been around, but not as long as it was in Google. And Firefox, I think, also has it if you use Mozilla Firefox. So anyway, I've basically shifted all the way over to using tab groups to keep track of sites that I like to frequently go to rather than bookmarking them.
Okay, and I have a question right here, because I use bookmarks just for this purpose, and I have a whole thing in notes that's URLs, so that I can just quickly access URLs that are under groups like this. So like if you are in a tab, what is it called?
A tab group?
If you're in a group tab and you delete one in it, like that one you're in.
Yeah, so this is the user group thing. After this meeting, I won't need this particular Wikipedia page. I can delete it. So that changes the content of the tab group.
But the tab group is still there.
Right. Yeah. You can delete and add individual tabs, and
While you're in it.
and if you're viewing a tab group and you add new tabs, they will be in that tab group the next time if you don't delete it. And these are synced through iCloud services. So these same tab groups are available on your iPad and your iPhone in Safari.
So let's say that you had that one you just deleted in here, social media, whatever it was, and you think, oh, that would go better in the graphics one. Could you click and drag into the folder?
So if I undo closing that tab, it brings it back. Yes. If I want that in a different tab group, I can right click on it and say move to tab group graphics.
Okay.
And it leaves this one, but it's now in this one. So the individual tabs, you right click on the tab itself and you can move it or close it or move it to a whole new window. If you don't want it in a tab group anymore, you can just make its own window. And if you have tabs open in just general browsing, you can put all of those tabs into a tab group by right-clicking on that.
Okay, so how, this is a little different, but like I create groups up in the bar.
Oh, the favorites bar here?
Yeah, in the favorites bar, I do a very similar thing, like my business.
You'd have to create a folder, and then you'd have
That's what I
bookmarks
do.
inside the folder, yeah.
Yeah, so this is.
This is
similar.
bookmarks.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it can be similar.
It's a similar kind of filing structure,
But
but
thi-
this
but-
is more.
But these sites aren't open.
Right, okay.
Websites in a tab group
So
are
does this slow
are
down my
open.
computer?
They're open.
Does this slow down my computer?
No, because what happens is Safari, it'll cache the state that it was last looked at, and then it will make that site dormant.
Okay. So
So
if I-
when you go back to it, if it hasn't been very recent, it'll reload the page immediately at that point.
So if I'm in someone's website, I go into home, but then I change into their about page. In the about page is what's showing when I leave the tab.
That's
then
what'll be
the
there
about
when you
page
come
is
back.
gonna be what is available.
Yeah, so whatever you're looking at in that particular tab, and you go to a different tab group or you go to a different web page, when you go back to that tab in that tab group, it will be at the state that you last looked at it.
That could be a fabulous time saver.
Okay. Any other questions about that? All right. Back to this. Anybody have a favorite to share today? Okay, great. Well, what I was going to do is do Q&A before the break, but we're going to have a break first, since it's been over an hour and a half. So take a break, and then we'll have a short Q&A before the main topic. Oh, maybe I should have done this, and in the video I'll have fireworks.
Did you have break music?
We tried to play music earlier, and it was a disaster. Pause recording.
Like I said, try it on a Windows machine since they're a little bit behind where Mac is on that stuff. iTunes is still there, but all it has in it now is podcasts. Windows actually did break out into the music app and the movie app and all that stuff.
Okay.
But iTunes is still there, at least for podcasts. But give it a shot and see what it does.
Right.
So do we have any general
Oh, did you
personal
record?
computing? It's on record. Yeah, it started the recording. Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any pause for editing? Do we have any general questions to be answered about personal computing issues you may be having at home or at work or wherever? No? No questions?
I'm sure I do, but I don't have them in my brain.
Wow.
Okay, well, we'll have to try to figure out Nick's iPod some other time. All right? Well, then we're going to take a break. Only this will be edited into the other section. And we're back. Gentle reminder. So, on to the main event, including our term of the month, social media. This is just kind of in prep for, what Mike's going to present for our main topic today. I'm not going to read this, obviously, but, you can see what Wikipedia says, some general things about it in terms of social media, platforms that facilitate, creating and sharing an aggregation of content. And some of the common features of platforms enable users to create and share the content and participate in social networking, connecting They have this highfalutin aspirations, social media platforms of, connecting people across the globe with common interests and common families and so forth. The thing about social networks is that their lifeblood, so to speak, is the content that their users create for them. They just provide the platform, the connection, and the users share their own content. We got memes, we've got photos, we've got text, messages, we've got all kinds of things, but the platforms themselves don't really create content. It's all the users. The users can create a profile on a service-specific platform, but the platform designs and maintains that for them. So you can't change really how your profile looks. I mean, you can apply a picture, sometimes there's a cover photo, but the way it's presented on the device screen, whether it be a phone or a web page on a web browser, is fixed by the platform. And this helps development of online social networks, so connecting with other people socially online. Some of them are business oriented, like there's a social networks for like LinkedIn that you can connect on a professional level. Anyway, that's the kind of the overall pie in the sky definition of social media that we're going to be discussing in more detail in our main topic today: social media, a changing landscape. And I'm going to turn this over to Mike, and I'm even going to give him control of the. If you use this to advance instead of this, when you do this, it jiggles.
Okay.
The whole thing jiggles. And
We don't want any jiggling.
We don't want the camera.
All right.
You don't want your face to be jiggly, so you can advance it right here.
It might improve it.
It might improve it.
All right.
Thank you, Mike, for preparing and willing to present today.
Bearing in mind that when we approached this Mike and Barry show, we had fully expected that we would have John doing this, and we're going, like, what exactly were we looking at with this? I don't know. Well, let's make some stuff up and see what happens. Well, hopefully, we were hoping for some audience participation. If not, this is going to be a fairly short presentation. However, I had a few thoughts about this that I was intrigued by social media. Where did it come from? How did we get where we are now? So what I want to talk about is where did it come from? What is social media? Because a lot of people really wonder about, really, what do we talk about? We talk about social media. Why should we use it? For a lot of us, I don't get it. We hear a lot about people that spend hours and hours each day on social media. What do they get out of it? Why should we do that? And of course, some of the problems and pitfalls, which I think a lot of us might appreciate. Okay, historical background. Back in the early 90s, we started with the World Wide Web. Internet was around a little bit before that, but the web really made it popular. Before the web, we were using file protocol retrieval services like Archie and Gopher to try to find information and pull it back. The web, it made it a lot easier because of hyperlinks. And the essential way that it worked was we created static web pages. We'd use HTML code to build a web page, and we would present information. That's all it was. It was designed to allow researchers, university people, some business people to create their own websites. I went through a phase in the mid to late 90s where if you were working as a techie, especially up on Post here, there were two things that you were expected to demonstrate to show that you were really into this stuff. One was to have Microsoft Certified System Engineer certification. The other was to have your own website. And I went to job interviews with, oh, what's your website? Well, I don't have, you don't have your own website? That was the mark of the power techie at that time. So a lot of us learned enough how to create a website. But again, they were static. I would put on information, you would look at it. You didn't have a way to get back to me to communicate with me. I put on my email address. You can email me if you like, if you want to do that. But users could only really search for and read content. All right, then we got to Web 2.0. What I think of as the cooperative web, the dynamic web. First, we came up with the technologies. We're actually able to build web pages that are customized for each user, depending on certain parameters. One user might not see the same exact page as another user, depending on their interests. We started using cookies to customize the web page, using some programming stuff like JavaScript and ActiveX to customize the web pages a little bit more. And not only with that, this allowed user participation and interaction. We started putting in comment sections. We started putting in ways for, at first, for users to communicate between the creator and them. Then we started putting in ways to allow the users to communicate with each other. And that's when we really started getting things kicked off. Yeah, we had comment sections, and we started seeing more and more of what we now call social media. Podcasting, blogging was a huge thing. I still kick myself because I had an idea for a website that would allow people to comment together, and it sure looked a lot like what the site that's called Slashdot. And it's exactly what I had envisioned. I should have moved faster on that one, because that got sold to major publishers for millions years ago.
Oh, you'd have been a billionaire.
I would have been a billionaire. Me and Zuckerberg like that. Okay.
Me and Zook.
We are in Web 2.0. Right now, that's where we're at. We've been there for years. Then there's Web 3.0, which Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the web, started talking about this many years ago. He called it the semantic web, which nobody was really sure exactly what he meant. I think we're getting a better idea now with AI. Still a work in progress, but we think he had the idea of it's the web that can sense what you want through your input and will customize the output for you. Basically, I think what we're looking at is we add AI into the web, where it's going to start telling us or connecting us to resources we didn't know that's what we were looking for. I think that's where we're headed for now. I suspect it's going to be a bumpy road, but we'll see where that winds up. But that's a little bit beyond where we are right now. All right, what is social media? Okay, a great sage once said, social media, websites, and applications that allow users to connect and communicate with each other. That's really all this is. It's a way that users can go up to a website, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They can put up their own content and receive feedback from others. They can comment on others. It is a true web of information and connectivity. Not only can we learn things, but we can also entertain, and we can create social connections, theoretically. Personally, I think that the personal connections like what we get here is much more potent. But the virtual connections that are made here are much more widespread, a lot shallower, but more widespread. All right. Here are some of the more infamous of the social media sites that are available to us. Probably one of the first ones I can imagine, well, outside of Slashdot, which actually started in the late 90s, MySpace. MySpace started as a music site where people do share their favorite music, and then it started to form into more of just a general social site. Then everybody got blitzed by Facebook, which, if you've watched the movie The Social Network or read the book Accidental Billionaires, it's exactly what it was. It was kind of an accident. The term Facebook came from the Ivies. They had Facebooks. Each class would have a book that showed everybody's picture, so you had a directory of everybody who was at the school. That was their Facebook. And Zuckerberg came up with the idea of, what if we had a way to connect the people at the university through the computer? And if you watch the movie, The Social Network, what it actually started at was more of a dating app. Actually, that's to be kind.
Yeah.
It was essentially a hot or not type of thing, if you remember that website. Swift or choose left, choose right.
I think it's called Tinder now.
Yeah, Tinder is very similar to that now. But that's what it started at. And then it started off as a method of connecting the people at the school. For those of us who go back a ways, we remember when Facebook, at first, each school had their own Facebook. Harvard had their own Facebook site. Then they started expanding out to the other schools. The next iteration was you had to have a .edu email address to be a member of Facebook. And then they took it public and just opened it up to everybody, and the thing exploded. Because, of course, all those high school students thought, this would be way cool. We'd be up there with the college kids. And it went from there. And we watched Facebook evolve as the premier social site over the last several years. Of course, with all sorts of different controversies and whatnot.
I think now the median age is probably in their 40s or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's no longer a kid's or
No,
young people's
no.
network.
Facebook is for grandma and grandpa. The kids have moved on to other stuff. Where the kids actually are to apps that we haven't heard of yet. They are constantly keeping ahead of the parents by one step. So I guarantee you that they're using stuff that you and I have never heard of. Twitter was the next interesting step. The original Twitter was the concept of 160 character messages max. Just little shots of what I'm doing right now, which a lot of people didn't understand. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm moving from the couch. Okay. But Twitter did turn out to be very useful when it came to sharing fast-breaking news. And it has also evolved over the years. Eventually, last year, bought by Elon Musk, because he did not like the way it was run. And when you have enough money, you can basically do that. Although it was rather funny because it looked like he actually was kind of bluffing on buying it, and then turned out they called his bluff, and he got stuck. Of course, one of the things he did with Twitter was he was actually able to finally fulfill a lifelong dream and name it X. Elon was one of the co-founders of PayPal, and one of the falling out he had with Peter Thiel, the other founder, he wanted to name it X.com because he always thought that was an awesome name for a company. X.com, X stands for everything, single letter, everybody will come to it. And the other founder said no. PayPal is good. Nobody knows what X is. PayPal is good. So, but he always wanted to have X.com. And you'll notice that goes with his other portfolios, SpaceX. I'm a little surprised Tesla's not Tesla X. But,
Well, Tesla was Tesla before he bought it. So.
yeah. So now we're dealing with X, and of course it's continuing to evolve in different ways.
He has mentioned that he does want to make it a super app.
Yes.
Like we were talking about earlier, like WeChat in China. He
Yes.
wanted X to become a super app for the rest of the
That's
world.
what he would like. And that's what he had in mind for PayPal. WeChat is a Chinese app that you must use when you're in China, basically, to live. All records, everything is tied into WeChat, and is all the payment systems. When I was teaching, I had a student here, a soldier from China, who did a research paper on it. And he said WeChat was just baked into everything. If you wanted to visit the doctor, the appointment calendar was in WeChat. If you wanted to pay somebody, the payment system was in WeChat. If you wanted to pay in cash, you really had to jump through some hoops in order to make that happen. WeChat, you hold up your phone, and there it goes. So that is what Elon really wants us to move towards eventually. He wants X to be the everything app.
He wants to control.
Yes. Other websites, LinkedIn. The social media app for professional networking is at least what it originally was. I understand now that it has kind of moved more towards just social networking. But the idea behind LinkedIn was you would meet people that are also working in your chosen field. When I was in LinkedIn, the only action I ever saw on that was I would get the occasional hit by a headhunter, seeing if I'd be interested in putting in for another profession somewhere. Instagram, the social network that's specialized in photographs, pictures, videos. You would go ahead and basically document your life in pictures and put it up on Instagram. TikTok, which has taken that a little bit further. That started out with like very brief 30-second, 1-minute videos that you would put up. It started off with everybody basically jamming to a song and putting themselves up there and getting followers. And that has expanded out enormously. I am not on TikTok myself, so I can't really tell you about it. I know John has put up some stuff. Occasionally he'll find a tutorial video or something to put it up there.
Is TikTok shorties?
I don't know.
Is there length?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
usually really short,
Yeah.
short videos initially. Anyway.
Yeah,
And usually vertical videos, I think, mainly.
yeah, from holding up the phone like that. Yeah.
13-year-old boy killed 2 weeks ago, right around my neighborhood here.
Yes, we have.
Back and they were
Yeah.
playing a video where they dare people to do things. They had a gun and one of the kids got killed.
Yes, there's been nothing else in the news on that since that happened. I saw that, but yeah, a 13-year-old was shot, and all they know is they were doing a TikTok video. That is one of the big problems with TikTok is the dares. Young people will put out dares and video yourself doing this. The first time I heard about it was with the Tide Pod eating challenge. We dare you to eat a Tide Pod, which, by the way, not surprisingly, is poisonous. So yeah, things like that. Think of the old show Jackass, which apparently a lot of these people are doing that. TikTok.
There was also
yeah.
a lot of dance videos, I understand.
A lot of dance videos. Yeah. I have seen
That's
some.
usually in the 12 seconds before the Tide Pod kills you.
I have seen some hilarious fail videos where people were trying to be cool on TikTok. There was a thing going on a couple years back where people were taping themselves running next to a moving car with the door open and dancing and then jumping into the car. And there were some times where they misspelled the speed and they would basically whack themselves up on the door, and which I will say is kind of hilarious, but and also I think of it as natural selection playing out in real life.
There's that.
No. All right, we have YouTube, which of course is video. YouTube is one of the really early ones. Goes back to the 90s. I remember when YouTube first started, and they were one of the first big ones with people putting up their own content. And that's one of the things I think really made social media take off, was the realization people will actually make their own videos and put it up here, and we could sell advertising and people will watch this stuff. It's great. What's ironic is I remember that there was also a pipe manufacturer that had the website YouTube, the letter U, T-U-B-E. And the next thing they knew, they were going broke because they had so many people going to their website because they thought it was Y-O-U-T-U-B-E that they were being inundated with the bandwidth fees by their ISP. They wound up finally selling, I think, their domain name to YouTube so that just to get out from under having to pay for all the bandwidth of people saying, no, this isn't the right place. Snapchat, believe that was basically something like Instagram, except their whole thing was take a picture and then it'll disappear within a certain amount of time. So you won't leave a trail on social media.
Very temporary.
Yeah.
So your
Threads.
friends would see it, and then nobody else
And you're right.
after that.
Yeah. The evidence would disappear. Threads and Blue Sky are both answers to X after Twitter became X. Threads and Blue Sky both launched in order to give an alternative to X. So I don't think either of them have really taken off that much. Threads was extremely popular for the first couple of days,
What would those all three fall under?
Well, Threads is a Meta property, so Facebook and Instagram and Threads are all owned by the same
Yeah.
umbrella company.
Basically, they wanted to have an alternative to X.
It's just all social media, and it's short.
I would call it short messaging.
Yeah, short messaging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or microblogging they threw out every now and then.
Yeah, that was a good thing for a while.
Blue Sky
Yeah.
was started by, what's his name that originally started Twitter?
Oh, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, Jack
Yeah.
Dorsey. Yeah.
And Blue Sky, I don't know if it still is. It was by invitation only.
No, it's opened up
Is it
now.
is it opened? Okay. Nextdoor has been around for a while. That was designed to do social media for your immediate neighborhood, so you and your neighbors would have a way to connect. And, for example, put out news that yard sales are going on, I got something for sale, that kind of thing. Probably works better in larger cities. I know I actually do use Nextdoor here.
And people in Bisbee seem to use it.
They do, and
Dogs are missing, you know, oh, I found
Yeah.
this dog.
yeah, for a small area like this, you really have to tell it, show me all the adjoining neighborhoods in order to really see what's going on. When we were talking about this, I also found that there is a switch that I turned on that said, show me the more expanded area. And all of a sudden, I'm getting bombarded with stuff from Hereford and Palominas. So, and I found out there's some people at Hereford who are extremely chatty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some chatty ones down my way,
Yeah.
and but like to Carolyn's point, I'm in a neighborhood for like Kings Ranch Road south of the highway, supposedly. Although I get stuff from other people that are north of the highway in my feed, but a lot of it is, you know, my cat or my dog or whatever. But we also get notices about, you know, cows that have gotten off out of their fenced-in areas. There's a cow on the road on Mustang. If
You get some more interesting stuff. Up here, we'll occasionally get one. I was on my morning walk and I saw a coyote. I'm like, we're in the desert. Yes, you're
Yes.
going to see those
Yep.
every now and again. But people are freaking out like you think they saw a pack of wolves ravaging the streets. But, no, it's just a coyote. It's okay. Twitch. Twitch is an interesting little phenomenon. It is something that started off as video, basically dedicated towards gaming, computer gaming, where people would film themselves gaming. They would capture their games and then put them on websites so they could have bragging rights. Here I am gaming. See how good I am. Which I can't believe took off. I'm a gamer. To me, watching somebody else game is like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
I love to play. I don't like to watch. It was big enough, though. Amazon bought them. Twitch is now an Amazon property.
I didn't know that.
And apparently, you can monetize it. We have a niece who is a Fortnite sensation on Twitch.
Yeah.
And she makes a fair amount of money from doing her exploits.
Yeah, having people watch
And
her play.
and people can contribute. If the people like what you're doing, they'll throw you a tip.
So is it like donation?
Donations, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have ads too,
I think if you get big enough, you'll start getting some ad revenue as well, if you get popular enough.
like on YouTube?
Yeah. Of course, the whole thing is you have a rather pretty 23-year-old. It's going to attract a certain audience, shall we say, the 23-year-old boys.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, more power to her. She actually did make me get a Twitch account so I can actually follow her, but I'll say I haven't done that in a while. Again, watching paint dry, even if it is a relative.
Well, even if you're somebody who plays games,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine going on myself.
But it's a huge thing. Watching people play games is absolutely huge. I don't get it, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, and there's now even live events for those for
Yeah.
video games.
Yeah.
Where you have an arena and you have
right.
5 people up on a stage all on their own computer playing a game, and there's this whole crowd watching them.
Yeah.
Go to the Cinemark and
Esports.
sit there and with everybody else and eat popcorn and watch.
Yep. Esports,
Yeah.
yep.
Esports, yeah.
Huge, especially started in Korea, are really big, and then it spread. And then finally we have Pinterest, which has been around for a long, long time. They were also essentially photography oriented, where people would basically put up pictures of their hobbies, their interests. That turned into a lot of tutorial accounts. here's how to do something. You saw a lot of that.
DIY.
Yeah, a lot of DIY, exactly. Crafting, that kind of thing.
Crafting, often I find Etsy, so little
Etsy,
sales,
yes.
little sales companies.
Yeah.
Jewelry.
I think Etsy is more of a shopping site. Pinterest
Yeah.
is more of a hobbyist.
No,
I thought Pinterest was just this, here's what I've done, not, I didn't know that it was interactive, or here's what I'm doing,
Well, it's,
because I've never really been.
I think you can make comments.
Yeah,
It's interactive in that, but otherwise it's much closer to and it's old too. It's much closer to the original web where somebody put up content.
Tutorial-y,
Yeah.
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 More like here's how to sew, but then they end up on YouTube.
And I think,
Right.
And I think also, as a way of pinning
Mhm.
from Pinterest, visual resources that you find, like for research purposes or something.
Right.
Like you have you're working on a craft project or something, and you're searching the web and you find images or similar things that other people have done, and I'm going to add this to my Pinterest board so that I can go back to it and refer to all these things all in one place,
Right.
kind of a thing.
Now that is one of the great advantages, especially of YouTube, is finding out how to do things. Perfect example. A few years ago, my dishwasher needed work. The guy came in, fixed it. He said, there is a part down here that does the spraying. He says, it's full of lime and calcium. You need a new one. I just ordered you one. It'll come in the mail in a couple days. No problem with you putting it in. Absolutely no problem. Just put it right in there. Okay. Carolyn will be the first to tell you I am not the handiest guy in the world. I am a computer geek. My ability with mechanical stuff is pretty close to zero. So this stuff came in the mail, little sprayer attachment. I mean, I open up the dishwasher, I see it right there. Okay, great. I'll go down, can't get it off. No matter what I try, I can't get it off. I am twisting, turning, everything else. Finally, okay, go to YouTube. And I'll be darned if I didn't find somebody that actually has replacing that same exact part.
Gotta love them.
I'm just amazed that somebody actually put in that amount of detail. And I found out that instead of screwing something, counterclockwise to take it off like everybody else in the world, no, this one you turn clockwise to take it off. What? Are you serious? I am constantly using it for silly little things like that, where I should be able to figure it out on my own, and I simply can't. So, yeah, Tony.
Pay attention to the little thread at the bottom of the cap. One runs this way, and you can see it physically. The other one runs the other way, and you can see that physically. So if you run across that, pay attention to
That's a nice little
And if-
detail,
Good tip.
if you can see it.
If you can.
The space between the cap and here, physically, you can see the threads going one way. And if they're going the other way, you know you're going right or left.
And if I had any mechanical aptitude whatsoever, that would have occurred to me. You're exactly right.
I have mechanical aptitude.
Yeah. All right. So this is just a bunch of the social media sites that we came up with off the top of our heads. Anybody else got any other ones that you may have run across or seen? No.
There's another newer one that's another one of the X alternatives called Spoutable. I don't know much about it. But
Well, that's a new one on me.
yeah,
Possible,
Spoutable.
as in I'm trading mine out as I'm available.
As I've got a spout and I'm pouring from it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm spouting off.
I think it's a play on the original Twitter graphic that when they had a fail, they call it a whale fail, and they had a
Yes.
whale graphic with the whale spouting. So this is Spoutable as an alternative to the original to X, which used to be Twitter.
Yeah, Tony.
Sometimes pay attention to the thread, will give you an indication. They do that for purposes so that the average Joe Blow that doesn't know what he's doing doesn't monkey around
Mhm.
with things that get themselves hurt.
Yeah.
That's why they do the left-hand thread.
Ah. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. All righty. So
There's probably a bunch of other
And there's a
niche
few other things that go
senior
along with
Yeah.
it.
social media things, like there's book club social medias and things like that.
Okay. Interestingly, especially after X was created, we've seen an interesting new trend called social media hosting. These are actually protocols that allow you to create your own social media instances. You can create your own social media site, and this is becoming a big thing. Two of the big ones,
Oh, yeah.
Discord and Mastodon.
Okay.
Mastodon especially took off after X. Discord was around a little bit before that, and we've actually played with that a little bit. These are
Mastodon was around too, but it didn't become
Right.
like in the popular mindset until after X. Yeah.
rather than having a very large social media presence, this allows you to create a social media group for a very sharply defined group. The person who is interested in creating it, they can create their own group, their own Discord server or Mastodon server, and basically you have to know that it exists in order to find it. As far as I know, there's not a Mastodon directory yet, and that's the way people like it. Essentially, these are created through word of mouth. For example, I follow the Twit TV broadcasts or podcasts that Leo Laporte does. Leo Laporte has been doing tech news since the 90s. And he has a Mastodon instance where people that follow his stuff can go and converse there. There's a new term that for all these things, they're calling it the Fediverse. These are federated servers where they have a common interest, but they're not actually connected. So you may see that term, the Fediverse. That's what this is referring to. These new social media sites that aren't actually connected, but they share a commonality in that they use the same protocols.
So would it be a fair way to say it, that Discord is a way that I can create my own personal chat room?
Yes. You can create your own personal chat room, absolutely.
We did that for our group here. The officers started one to see if maybe we could use that instead of, what was it, eBay, or no, Yahoo groups that when it was
Yahoo
going
groups,
away.
yeah.
And we kind of after playing with it, we thought, our members probably aren't going to do this.
Yeah.
So
I think I've used Discord in something related to AI, and I needed Discord for some reason for ChatGPT or something in ChatGPT.
Yes, ChatGPT uses Discord. That's how they were serving out their
Yes.
their stuff. Yeah.
and Midjourney also.
And Midjourney.
Yes.
Those three I needed all three to work getting pictures through AI as well as chat, content through. So that was just, I don't know anything about Mastodon. Are they the same type of thing?
Yeah, very similar from what I understand. Yeah. I belong to a couple of gaming Discord groups, which I never think to go up to. I'm not big on social media. I just do not relate well to people on a computer screen.
I was in a learning environment when I was in an AI course when I learned about those three items, and I only use the ChatGPT as far as I know so far.
I got a kick out of something I saw yesterday, that there's someone who is launching an AI-powered wedding planning tool. Let AI help you think of all the things you need to plan your wedding.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that it said, oh, in order to use this tool, you have to have a $25 a month membership to ChatGPT. When you just slapped a front end onto ChatGPT, that's all you did. You're just writing on top of them. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, are they charging people to use it?
Yep. All right.
Money, honey.
Discussion groups is another method of social media, and we should be familiar with one of these, Google Groups. I threw up Steam and GOG just to have a couple of examples there. Those are gaming platforms that I actually do use. They're both digital distribution platforms, but they also have their own communities. All they are forums where people can ask each other questions and discuss. Google Groups, our own MVCUG, is the same thing. It is just a group where people can put up their questions or observations and respond. So these are probably one of the earliest forms of social media, going back to the 90s. Okay, Why use social media at all? A lot of it is not good. You run into some very unpleasant people there, but others, you can run into some nice folks too. Creating a community around special interests is probably one of the biggest reasons that people will do that. You'll see that with a lot of Facebook groups. I belong to several Facebook groups. I like Star Trek, so I belong to a couple of them. I like science fiction. I belong to some science fiction groups where I will see people that make comments. Things like this, you can actually connect with like-minded people as far as the hobbyist community goes. This can be positive or negative, depending on where your interests are. We won't go there. Here's the big one, keeping in touch with friends and family. Right now, we have a sister that is visiting her daughter in Germany. The daughter is studying in Germany. The family went over to visit, and thanks to Facebook, we get to see the pictures of her trip in near real time, which is really, really way cool. We know what's going on. We don't have to wait for that Christmas newsletter that says, and here's what we did during the last year. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons that people will use this stuff, is to keep in touch with friends and family. Here's something I have mixed feelings about. Social media is commonly now used for announcements. For example, I have a class reunion coming up this year. I would not have known about it if I didn't see it through Facebook, through the people I follow there. That's the problem. A lot of people are going strictly to using social media for this kind of thing. And folks that aren't using social media are getting left out in many instances. So yeah, kind of keep that in mind, especially with the people that you know that you may want to use something besides just social media, some of the old-fashioned ways. Telephone, mail, post office.
Messenger me
Posters
that lives
around
in
town, ad in the paper.
Ad in the
somebody
paper.
that went from texting or phone to messengering me, and we live in the same town. And I just did not respond, and I still haven't, and I saw them in person, and they didn't say anything, and
Yeah.
I didn't say anything, but it's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not adding another method that I have to look at to stay in touch with you.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with Facebook Messenger. I turned it off. I found out, yes, there's a way to do that. The same thing. I don't need something else. Especially it's another way for silly garbage to make its way into my life. So no, I don't need that.
I have to say that that element of Messenger has actually, I have people in other countries, and that is a nice way that we can text.
Right.
WhatsApp or that are really the main things that I use to communicate with people outside of the United States, because for free, I should say.
Oh,
for free.
and Skype is still out there.
I forget about Skype
Yeah.
because I started with Skype, but then these things came into play and other people weren't using Skype.
Right.
And so then it began, okay, drop Skype and take on these.
Yeah,
Can
'cause
you use Skype internationally for free?
as far as I know, yeah.
Oh. For texting, not for phone calls.
I don't know. Actually, I haven't.
Everybody's zooming.
Yeah, I think for international, I think it costs like a couple of cents a minute, maybe. But yeah, Skype got bought by Microsoft. I think they were going to fold it into Teams, and then they didn't, and it just kind of withered on the vine. It's still there, but yeah, like you said, there's other ways.
It doesn't have as much functionality, I think, internationally
Yeah.
as other things do now.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, the original purpose of the internet, cat videos. Probably the greatest form of distribution, social media, and cat
Cats
videos.
Dogs and animals.
Yes,
Yeah.
everybody loves those videos. All right, the pitfalls. The biggest problem I see with social media is that you'll start getting used to seeing people posting, and you'll start to think that you're part of a community. You're not. It's a bunch of random people that may or may not have the same interests, the same
And may or may not be
viewpoints.
people.
They may or may not be people. There are a lot of bots out there now. That was one of the things with Elon Musk buying Twitter, was he said, I think it's way overpriced, and he came up with something like 70 or 80% of them are bots talking to each other, not real people not real people actually communicating
On Twitter?
on Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And he's continue to have problems, I think, getting rid of them.
And that's the thing, especially with AI getting better and better, that's going to continue to be a problem. Is this a real person I'm talking to? It's going to be very, very hard to tell. All right, here's a big one, scams, especially the romance scams, where a lot of people will be contacted by somebody and, oh, I'm falling in love. I ran into an old friend a couple years back when I was visiting home, and I'd heard he wanted to get a hold of me. Okay, we contacted through Facebook. I said, I'm coming to visit this year. Okay, great, we'll have to get together. He says, I want you to meet my girlfriend. Cool. I mean, this guy, lifelong bachelor, high school friend of mine, lifelong bachelor, but a girlfriend? Cool. We get up there, we arrange, okay, we're going to meet for lunch at this place. Great. And we get there, and he's by himself. We're like, okay, so what's with this girlfriend? Well, she's online. Really? And we start talking, and he shows me the picture. And the picture is of this dashing 22-year-old blonde girl in a bathing suit on a boat. And I'm like, okay. Dude, so this girl has fallen in love with a 60-year-old overweight bachelor farmer in Iowa. Have you thought this through? And he says, dude, this is a scam. He goes, yeah, I know it probably is, but it could be. And talking to him more, it turns out they had been talking to him about investing. And talking to him, he had already invested $3,000.
No.
But he got it back.
How?
They actually paid him back his investment and a little bit more. And he says, so this has got to be real. I'm going, dude, that's called setting the hook.
Yeah.
They want more than that. They're setting you up.
I want you to think they're legit.
And his whole answer was, well, yeah, you're probably right, but... And afterwards, I actually did a Google search on the girlfriend. Yeah, it's a common image. It's of a model in Australia from about 10 years ago that is commonly used in romance scams. She's using romance scams all around the world. And
Her image, yeah.
unfortunately, you can't save people that don't want to be saved. He didn't want to hear it. He had his fantasy, so okay. We ran into...
That phrase about weeding out the wheat?
Yes. It's natural
But if
selection.
you
Natural
do it
selection.
right, Celebrity Cruises will put you into one of their really upgraded suites. If you can get your 15 or 20 bachelors to all book in on the same cruise using a special code.
Yes, you bet. We ran into something else similar with somebody else we know here in town, where she started describing a multi-level marketing bit. And some multi-level marketing is legitimate.
Yeah, because mine is multi-level
Yeah.
marketing, and, you know.
But we started checking out the thing that she was in, and we started coming across a lot of articles, this is a scam, YouTube videos where people had said, I tried this. Basically, it's a pyramid scheme type of thing. And again, we said, well, this is what we came up with. This looks to be a scam. We go, no, I don't think it is. And her thing was that, well, a scammer is just in and out for the big money. They would never take the time to set this up.
Yeah.
Oh.
I went,
She said,
oh.
well, they got a legitimate website, and, you
No,
know.
wait, we just, didn't, I remember John talking about the word for that.
There is a word, and I can't think of what it is now. We talked about it last month.
Bull,
Oh, butchering the pig.
butchering the pig.
Butchering the pig.
That's, yeah. The
Where
scam-
now-
Where it's the pre-setup.
Yes.
to
Scammers
a
are now
long scam.
scammers are now taking months or years
Yes.
to set up to make the big kill. The biggest kill they had was the banker they took for $48 million.
Ouch.
That was covered on Last Week Tonight by John Oliver a few weeks back.
Oh.
And the
42 million.
42 million, 48 million, something like that.
And make ransomware look kind of
And-
expensive.
And the worst thing is, it was a small bank in the Midwest, and the worst thing is the thought that you have a bank set up where one person can actually do that without oversight. I mean, that much money, you'd think somebody else has got to be kind of looking over your shoulder.
At least
Yeah.
check off the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phishing scams, pretty much the same thing that we were just talking about. All sorts of scams that they'll come after you with. Misinformation and disinformation. And of course, coming into the election and coming in with AI, we're going to be seeing a lot of this. The difference being misinformation is just erroneous. Disinformation is deliberate propaganda. And the thing is, how do you define which? That gets kind of squishy.
Since the laws are so behind and there's nothing that says you have to label what created the content.
And when you
And
start,
even if there was, how
and-
would we know?
and how do you distinguish between fact and opinion? In a lot of cases, or at least in proper propaganda, you really try to blur the line between fact and opinion. So, and this is going to be interesting this year as we see how all that develops. So why does social media exist? Well, aside from our need to make connections, make money for the platform. That's the main reason that these companies make these available to us. They're going to make money. But how do they make money because Facebook is free to us? Simple. They're selling all the information that they can about us, about the things that they know about us. They know that I'm seriously into science fiction. They know I'm into comic books. They know I'm into all these other things. It's a much more streamlined way of doing it than it was years ago. Years ago, I started getting catalogs for golfing equipment, which I have not touched a golf club in my life. I finally figured out what it was my salary had advanced enough where I was in that tax bracket where people golf. Who knew? Honey, we need to go get a new hobby going here. But that's how they make their information, their money. They sell information about you to each other, to other social media contracts. And of course, the other downfall of the loss of privacy. If you're concerned about privacy, you should not be on social media because the whole point of it is to give away your privacy. So most of us, we will try to come up with a happy medium somewhere in the middle. There are safeguards on most of the social media sites that dictate, here's how much I want to be seen. For example, on Facebook, the only people who can see my stuff are people I know. The public in general does not get to see what I do or can't contact me. You do have to be a little bit careful that way. That one friend I was telling you about with the romance scam, after I contacted him on Facebook, I started getting friend requests from friends of his, and a lot of them were turning out to be porn sites. I finally had to defriend him to stop that type of thing from happening. Porn.
Oh,
Pornography.
got it.
Yep. I'm going, okay, so now I know how he got hooked into some, and I'm sure it's because of the romance scam that got him hooked into that. Or maybe that's where he came across it. I don't know. Yeah, monetization of your data. They take what they know about you and they will sell it to each other. There was something last month about... Or ads. There was something last month about a fellow that discovered that his insurance went up suddenly. And he found out it was because General Motors had sold his driving information that had been collected from his car, which is just a modern car.
His permission.
Yep, sold it without his permission. Well, somewhere in the fine print on page 44.
Yeah, they probably.
Yeah. And it went to LexisNexis, and LexisNexis sells it to everybody else, to all the insurance companies, and his insurance went up. By the way...
Why? Why? I don't understand that.
Oh, because they had paid attention to his driving habits. You tend to have jackrabbit starts. You tend to brake hard. You are a careless driver.
So you're a higher risk.
You're a high-risk driver.
You mean the car
The
gave
car-
them that information?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All modern cars collect driving data on everything you're doing.
Card that you can plug your phone in, is actually sending data back to the company.
Insurance companies a few years ago were trying to get you to sign up for these programs where you would put a little device in your car and that would monitor your driving. And they thought that was a great idea, but the problem was nobody was signing up for it. So they just got with the car manufacturers. Instead, they built all this stuff in anyway. And then on page 44 of the agreement, when you buy the car, by the way, we can do whatever we want with your stuff. I actually, after that, the New York Times reported on this, and they had two links. One was to LexisNexis. So you could send off because LexisNexis is required to provide you a free report. It's under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So I signed off for that. And they also had a link to another website that would tell you if your car is collecting data on you. And I put in the information on our Nissan that's out here, and basically came back and said, your car is a rolling hard drive. It's collecting information.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then I actually got the LexisNexis report, and it's not as bad as the guy in the original story with his 250 pages of driving habits. Mine had no driving habits. It did have all the financial transactions I've done over the several years, including it, for some reason, it kept talking about one payment I did over and over again. There was a lot of redundancy, but it was the stuff I would expect. But there was nothing about driving in there, which was nice to see. And really nothing much more than what you'd see at the credit unions, the credit agencies. So it wasn't that bad for me anyway. So,
Now, does this apply to American-made cars? All cars?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, regardless of country?
if you got to build smarts into the cars, well, General Motors was the big one that was doing this, that was selling the stuff off. My Ford apparently they were not doing that, or at least Ford is not selling that kind of stuff. General Motors was the big thing, well, which isn't too surprising considering that they've had OnStar for years, and OnStar kind of led into that. OnStar was the service that would allow you to,
Get roadside service? And
yeah, I lock my keys in my car, unlock my car, please, that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So where are we going? Here's a good questions. Should social media be regulated? Arizona Katie Hobbs just vetoed an age verification bill that was passed up. The thing is, a lot of states have tried age verification, and there is no way they've passed First Amendment muster yet. There's no decent way of verifying age without infringing on adult rights.
But there are states that do it, I think.
Not that I survived the challenge. They've passed the laws, and they're in the courts, but I don't think there's anything that survived the challenge yet, or they've been knocked down. The only way that I could think that you could actually make that is through a universal ID card, which I don't think most of us want that either. I mean, from birth. So,
Right.
but
Ship me, I'm ready. Yeah, I'll do whatever you say.
exactly. So, don't know where that's going to go yet. TikTok we already talked about. Yeah, and there's always First Amendment concerns about any kind of regulation of social media. Of course, First Amendment applies to government speech, government controlling speech. Corporations, that gets interesting. We're seeing that's playing out now in the courts. Are the social media sites, are they publishers or just providers? If you're a publisher, you have a certain responsibility for what gets published on your site. If you're just a provider, if you're a conduit, if you're a utility, you're not. And again, we're starting to see that playing out again, that debate over how should we consider social media and the internet as all. I see that we're also going back into net neutrality. They're having that discussion about net neutrality again. The Biden administration is enabling some of that to keep the providers from being favoritism over what content they provide. That's a whole another meeting. Yeah, and what I threw in just at the end, why can't we just have the fun internet of the mid-90s when we were all just having fun, passing around email jokes and all this good stuff? Instead, why did it become toxic in many ways? Excuse me, in many ways.
We want more.
We
That's
want-
the American way, at least.
Yes, we do, and we got it.
The good and the bad.
Yeah. Questions?
Discussion, anything.
Oh, I did want to bring one thing back up. It came up last month about Cox going to Yahoo. I noticed just this morning I got an email from Cox saying, "We are moving to Yahoo. It is happening this month."
I got it yesterday.
I got one like 2 days ago, and I just got one this morning while I was here that I haven't even looked at yet.
For 2 years, I got scams all the time.
Yep. So apparently, well, I got a kick out of the one I got from Cox saying, "We are moving to Yahoo. Yahoo email is going to be your infrastructure. You'll be able to use your Cox credentials to log in. After that, if it doesn't work, don't bother us. It's Yahoo's problem." So That's their whole thing. Is Cox is
We're
getting out of.
out.
So
they
they-
are getting out of the email
They
business.
just don't want to be an email server.
They don't want to
That's
be
it.
an email server.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Our internet server did the same thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wonder why they chose Yahoo.
I know. Like I said, I saw the initial announcement like
Ours
5 years
didn't do
ago.
anything.
Oh.
They just cut you off.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So you had to have
cable one.
had to get your own email server, huh?
Yep,
Your own
change it.
email service.
No, this one's going to transition over. You're going to keep all your stuff, all your mailboxes, everything is going to go over. But yeah, last week I saw one that says it's going to happen within the month, and I think the one I got today says it's happening now. So
No, we're actually, because that sounds so much better than what occurred with Sparklight or Cable One. I can't remember. I think it was Cable One. Because then whatever you had accounts that were started in that, you don't know until you start having a problem with signing in, and it's Cable One, and you have no way to access the email. It's 2 years later, and you know.
Well-
So, but having something where it switches over, then you have its new direction, right?
right, at least Cox is behaving itself, probably because they're suddenly going to have competition this next year. Oh, I did get the email from Ello, the new fiber provider coming into town.
Oh, right, yeah.
I actually did get an email from them saying, yeah, we're coming to town. They have a service map, and right now for most of it, it's just in the planning area. We'll be coming in 2025. So I've heard that they're trenching already, so we'll see.
So as an example, I know people that have gotten T-Mobile as their,
Yeah, their residential service, yeah.
yeah, it's glitchy. It's
Is it?
definitely not
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, it's
I wouldn't call it a
cellular.
landline.
Well, it's cellular.
It's cellular, yeah.
Thing
But
about
my cell phone isn't glitchy.
Yeah.
When I hold in one place, my cell phone is not glitchy.
Yeah.
the thing about
Their
Ello,
phone is glitchy,
the thing about Ello is that's going to be fiber to the building, fiber to the house.
Yeah.
So
which is different.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh, yeah.
landline.
big time.
That's, yeah. I wish they would, some of these fiber companies would come down into the rural areas.
I know.
You sound excited about that, Mike.
I am.
I think they're going to outpace
Cox.
Cox's fiber distribution, it seems like,
Easiest
anyway.
way
Well-
to get them to come to the rural areas, move to Phoenix, and therefore you got it.
Well, for not that much money more, I will my internet connectivity would go up by like a magnitude of 10
Yeah.
for not far from the same price. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any other questions?
Oh, one other little observation. For those of you who use Blu-rays, DVD players, Blu-ray players,
Is Apple getting one?
no. Dear God, no. I'm getting more and more into playing discs because I'm disillusioned with streaming and their whole thing of taking stuff away. So,
They edit the movie sometimes.
but here's the thing: Blu-ray player just conked out. All of a sudden, wouldn't play discs. Got a new Blu-ray player. Of course, I get a new Blu-ray player. You're going to upgrade. I'll get a 4K. Of course. While I'm researching it, I see a lot of people complaining about the 4K players, saying, "Oh, my disc freezes. It doesn't play well. It stutters." Okay, do more research. Find out that what happens is the 4K players actually come with an advanced HDMI cable, 18 gigabit per second. I had no idea there was a difference in HDMI cables. Apparently, where people come in with the problem is, oh, I got a new Blu-ray player. They switch out the Blu-ray player, leave the old cable in place.
Or
And
they
that-
need an 18-foot cable.
and that's what
not
caught-
what comes with it, and they go to Best Buy, and it's
Right.
$240 for
Yep.
the cable.
And I find out that no, you use the 18 gigabit per second cable. That's about yay long. That comes with it. And so far, it has been perfect.
Yeah.
So if you do upgrade your Blu-ray player, bear in mind, use the new cable that comes with it. Don't get lazy and leave the old
Don't
cable in
just get
place.
what you use the one that you already have hooked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quality control.
Quality control.
All right, then. Thanks again to our two sponsors, Carolyn the Candle Lady, Mia Bella's Candles.
Which will be on a Yahoo account really soon.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
Cox.
right.
Will it change to Yahoo?
No, they said that it's going to stay at
The
Cox.net.
name is the
Yeah.
same, though.
They say it's
Weird.
going to stay the
It's
same,
just that
yeah.
Cox isn't gonna support it.
Yeah. And also to the Story Power Podcast. SageWoman.life is the website. So
Thank you, thank you.
thank you all. And we'll see you next month.
Stop doing that. If he's foolish enough to put X where nobody knows what's going on,
Yeah,
and if
let
you
Yeah.
under a rock,
I'm starting to see that disappear now.
Yeah, it's starting to change.
Yes,
It's-
let
That's
everybody be
his
confused.
problem.
Yes. It's the same.
He has to let us know. You got
Well, it's the same.
CBS News, not the endless debates on the internet.
Well, it's the same phenomenon we saw with the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
he did take his whacks for that.
Yes.
And that, quite frankly, was a Helvetica and at times knew whatever.
Roman.
Roman.
Roman problem. Because if they'd have just put in the right symbol, we wouldn't have had that little problem, would we? But again, it was like turning the Titanic, and he figured, oh, I'll change back by the time they put the key on, and he was right.
Y'all have a happy Earth Day on April
Happy
22.
Earth Day.
Ho, ho, ho.
We need more Earth and less computers, probably.
More happy and less social media.
Well, that's,
We have a
Thank you, gentlemen.
keyboard
Thank
for
you.
Apple. Is it
Thank
you. Right.
Street keyboard?
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, the number keys don't work. Is there a num lock on the keyboard? A number lock where you
Yeah, I don't think there is
Yeah,
actually.
they talked about clicking clear and shift, I think, but none of it worked.
Oh. I don't have I have an old Apple.